Ooh, so this is the legendary Reaper's office. Yeah, it appears so. Sends a chill down your spine, doesn't it? What an amazingly deathly atmosphere. Oh, is that? That hooded figure was so still I hadn't noticed his or her presence. I wonder who it is. What are you doing here? Ugh. He's as unwelcoming as I thought he'd be. Actually, maybe even more so. Oh, I'm glad to see you're well. I am. So, who's the person over by the wall being punished for something or other? No punishment is taking place here. Oh. That's my apprentice, and he's sitting there of his own free will. I didn't know you had an apprentice. It must be the same person who was pictured in the newspaper. He's very able in combat, a requisite skill for anyone under my tutelage. Are you referring to the attack on the Reaper that was reported in the papers? The Reaper? I'd be interested to know the Reaper's true identity myself. Assuming, that is, such a fabled fiend genuinely inhabits our great courtrooms. Lord Strongheart said the assault last night was some sort of revenge attack? True. Carried out by henchmen of Odie Osman's criminal organization. The investigation meant their arrests were imminent. Presumably, some hoped to kill me before that happened. Odie Osman? He's always masqueraded as one of London's most powerful financiers, a global investor. But his enormous wealth came to him by underhand means via his criminal activities. And he used that money to buy himself a verdict of not guilty when he found himself in court, didn't he? Being prosecuted by you, Mr. Reaper. But the man got his comeuppance in the end. Yesterday, in fact, in extraordinary circumstances. It was a most unusual cause of death. I know about that. It was super high voltage instantaneous kinesis gone wrong. Mr. Osman died when the demonstration on the public experimentation stage ended in an enormous explosion. Correct. And you think I have some kind of divine ability to cause an accident like that to happen, do you? Well, no. That does seem a little far-fetched. If this man really is the fabled Reaper, then he has to be innocent of this particular death, at least. It's strange how this has worked out, isn't it, Runo? I mean, what would you take in the professor's defense for the trial tomorrow? What? You're going to be defending him? Oh, yes, that's right. Though I barely know the man's name yet, to be honest. Albert. Albert Hairbrain. That's right. Do you know him by any chance? Of course. He's a contemporary of mine. We were at university together. Your what? I'd understood that Professor Hairbrain was from Germany, though. Hairbrain's from a respectable British family. After graduating from the University of London, he moved to Germany to carry out research. That's all. So you were students together. I was in the Faculty of Law, of course, and he is in science, so our paths rarely crossed. But curiously, we got along, though I've not met him since my university days. I certainly didn't expect our next encounter to take this form. And with you, of all people, representing him. Oh, only if I make it out of this office alive. He's actually been charged with murder, it seems. Yes, I know, because the prosecution will be handled by me. By you? But you made it sound as if you and the professor have been friends. We are friends, it's true. Then why would you do this? If the Reaper is the prosecutor, there's nothing anyone can do to save him. He's doomed. What's Lord Van Zykes thinking? What do you mean by what you said before? If you'd like to know the Reaper's true identity, does that mean... I'm a crown prosecutor and a mortal like any other. I'm no demigod. But they've all died, haven't they? The people you've prosecuted, I mean. And whether or not the trial ended in a conviction or an acquittal. Those I prosecute are the vilest wretches of our society. People who without question deserve to be found guilty. The world is a better place without them. But that's not true of Mr. Natsume, for example. He wasn't a vile wretch at all. Nor was Ginny. In fact, she's ever so hardworking now. I can't deny that since I encountered you, things have taken a turn. But the point is this. If any of those vile wretches that escaped justice subsequently died in mysterious circumstances, it was at the hand of their own kind. It's not my work. Lord Strongheart said the same. He believes you're not involved in any way. But you were attacked by those ruffians because they believe it's true. The fact is, since people started to call me the Reaper of the Bailey, the number of serious crimes in the capital has dropped substantially. Oh. It would appear that even the most hardened criminals can be made fearful of their lives. Do you mean to say? I mean to say that if my pseudonym serves a useful purpose, I adopt it gladly and with honor. But it's putting you in danger. You could be killed. If that is my fate, let God decide. Lord Van Zykes' desk. Look, so stylish. And that's a marble chess set beside it. Chess. That's the Western version of our Japanese shogi game, isn't it? You know, I'm actually quite good at shogi problems. Oh, really? You probably like chess problems in that case. I'd love to challenge Lord Van Zykes sometime. Do a bout of shogi, perhaps. If you only really want to challenge yourself, you can always do that on your own at home. Look at that fine collection of hallowed chalices and bottles neatly lined up there. My hallowed bottles are filled with the essence of the finest grapes from the finest vineyards I visit. And I personally oversee these chalices being made by the finest crystal craftsmen in the world. And yet you throw them around in the courtroom like they were worthless. Yes, because this imbecile is so unimaginably and repeatedly wide of the mark sometimes. Oh. Before you open your mouth next time, you should consider the poor artisans whose work you defile. So, it's my fault? Silly me, how could I ever thought otherwise? Ooh, look, it's a scale model of the Great Exhibition Showground. That's amazing. I wonder why it's here. Perhaps he made it to take his mind off the sadness of being too busy to attend in person? Or perhaps he's too embarrassed to queue up for a ticket. Surely, it's obvious that I'm using it as an investigative aid. You Nipponese have no business painting others as overly reserved. Ooh, I really didn't think he'd overhear that. That portrait really dominates the room, doesn't it? It's a very majestic outfit and pose, but sadly, whoever painted it didn't do a very good job of capturing Lord Van Zykes' facial features. Yes, you're right. I mean, it's not far off, but the artist has exaggerated his subject's handsomeness, I think. Oh, that reminds me. I heard Emperor Napoleon of France ordered artists to make him look even more attractive when they painted him. How vain. That's really not an attractive quality in a person, is it? That portrait does not depict me. Surely that's immediately obvious. Oh, then who is it? probably his dad or something. Literally, it actually kind of looks exactly like him, but like not. Like, you know how like it's like, oh, he kind of look. Okay, there's nothing else. Okay, hello, sir. It really looks like a punishment to me. I've never seen someone sitting like that before. He hasn't moved a muscle since we arrived. Do you think perhaps he's dead? If he was dead, Bruno, he wouldn't be sitting up, would he? Well, anyway, dead or alive, he's not overly approachable, is he? I don't think he's going to talk to us. He's not dead. Look at all those ancient casks lining the wall there. Casks in the Reaper's antechamber. Or are they caskets? You don't think all those people who escaped conviction in court are laying inside them dead, do you? What ridiculous notions are going through your head, man? This is a collection of fine vintages. Oh, yeah, of course. Thanks for clearing that up. Bruno and I were just amusing to ourselves. Don't mind us, Mr. Reaper. I wouldn't if you hadn't invited yourself into my office to talk nonsense within earshot. He even has bats in his room. Lord Van Zykes, about the article in this paper. Ah, yes, it seems there was a reporter nearby when that little skirmish took place. I had no idea I'd been photographed. It was careless of me. It looks as though it was taken after the people who attacked you would run away, though. Rest assured, the police have already apprehended every last one of them. But there's someone else fighting alongside you, it seems. And I think it's the same man who's sitting over there as we speak, isn't it? As I mentioned already, he's my apprentice. Perhaps you could tell us a little more about him? He's in my tutelage to become a prosecutor. So you could say he's my apprentice, I suppose. Oh, like you are to Hurley then, Bruno. I don't remember taking an apprenticeship with a great detective. He's currently compiling a report about last night's attack. It looks like he's wearing some kind of mask? On Lord Strongheart's orders, nobody knows the man's face, or indeed his identity. Well, why would you agree to take on such a clearly suspicious individual? Lord Strongheart's orders again. He's not one for meaningless follies. There will be good reason for his actions. I hope you're right. Oh. The task is complete. Good. In that case, you can collate all the briefs. Nice to meet you? Back to work again. That was really strange, though. I've never met the man before. I didn't even know he existed, and yet, somehow, it didn't feel like our first encounter. Don't bother trying to converse with him. He says nothing to anybody from outside this office. Lord Strongheart has strictly forbidden it. Oh, I see. Why are you so interested in my apprentice anyway? Oh no, I mean, sorry, I didn't mean to. The way he stood there so casually, yet with that flawless posture. He couldn't be. Like, they're already writing it out. Like, now it's like, oh, it's probably, Kazuma, somehow. Oh, yes, there's something I've been meaning to ask you. Oh, what's that? That Nipponese man. Is he faring well? Sorry? The one arrested twice in succession 6 months ago, with the stoop, and the mustache, and the jitters. Oh, Mr. Natsume, you mean? I'm not sure he'd be very pleased to find you identified him from that list, Bruno. He's fine, thank you. In fact, I received a letter from him by international post only the other day. I see. Well, I think we can end our discussion there, don't you? You know what? At least she was trying to make that like random small talk, you know, to seem kind of friendly. I mean, I'm sure, you know what? With all these prosecutors, like I feel like every prosecutor in this entire series is like they're not evil. They're just misunderstood, you know? Like Edgeworth in the first one, he wasn't necessarily like a bad guy, and he like has all this character growth and stuff, and he gets his own game where he like, you know, I guess we like see his growth as like a whole character. And then I guess technically Francesca, what the hell is her name? Von Karma, you know, Whip Lady. She kind of grows by the end too. I mean, she does help out. I remember at like the last case, because technically Edgeworth takes that case too, because she got shot. I remember that. And then third one is like the one that I didn't really click with, so I don't know about Godot. I just know he likes coffee and like throwing his coffee cup, his mug. And then Blackwell was also not evil, just misunderstood. Like he was totally a good guy, like the bestest of friends to Athena. And he got punished for something he didn't do, technically. Yeah, he didn't even do anything. He just took the blame for it. And same with this guy. I have no idea about the dude from like Professor Layton, Ace Attorney. I have no idea about him. He might have changed his idea about like witches and magic and shit. Maybe. I never finished that game. And then this guy, I don't know about the other guy too. You know, like the Spirits of Justice guy. I don't remember. I don't know anything about him either. I didn't really like get through that game. But I bought the bundle, so the only bundle I don't have is the Miles Edgeworth investigation bundle. That's the only one I don't have. But everything else I have. So I'm totally ready. I'm totally ready for a marathon of Ace Attorney. Gonna take like 5 fucking years to finish them all. There's little time left before tomorrow's trial. I advise you to spend it investigating the case. Yes, thank you for the advice and for the conversation. I can't believe he's asking after Sosaki's son, after a Nipponese. I'm not sure whether to feel happy about that or worried. I mean, I'm sure he's like okay with it that he's still alive even after getting the not guilty twice, you know. I never imagined that Mr. Reaper would be friends with a mad scientist, did you? That's a turn up for the books. A mad scientist? Oh, you mean Professor Hairbrain? Yes, it might be worth quizzing the professor about his relationship with Lord Van Zykes, I think. Okay, bye. You know what, at least he didn't kick us out. Like, maybe it would be rude, I don't know. I think it's supposed to be Hairbrain because it's like meant to be a pun. There's a lot of punny names in these games, so I'm going to assume it's Hairbrain, like the saying. The warden said cell 11. This is the one. Or that's the one. Ow, there's someone curled up in a ball in the back corner. Look. What's his name again? Professor Albert Hairbrain, was it? Oh, like Einstein. It's like the opposite of Einstein. He's Hairbrain. Excuse me, Professor Hairbrain. Well, they gave him a book at least. Who are you? I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. A lawyer? Well, was it something I said? A lawyer, you say? Would you be here about the experiment? Are you going to defend my hypothesis? Your hypothesis? Sorry, I don't. Yesterday's demonstration. That magnificent demonstration was an out and out success by anyone's calculations. But despite that, No one listens. No lawyer believes in the science. When it's explained, they all leave at high velocity. Now's probably not a good time to mention that your zeal made my concentration leave for a while too. You mentioned the demonstration yesterday? The papers have called it a spectacular failure. After all, a man died in the explosion, didn't he? Yes, you could interpret the result that way if you really wanted to. Well, I suppose in the strictest sense. The experiment was a failure, but at the same time, it was a great success. You've lost me. I saw it with my own eyes, right there in front of me. Mr. Assman, Mr. Assman. Or is it? Yeah, I think Osman. Yeah, I will just say Osman. Mr. Osman was spontaneously disassembled. Until then, everything was going exactly as my calculations had predicted. At that point, he should have been beamed to the Crystal Tower by instantaneous kinesis. However, the machine exploded and Mr. Osman, in fact, perished? Yeah, I can't deny that part of the experiment was a failure. But what you're really saying is the large explosion that killed Mr. Osman was an accident, correct? But the bigwigs had you arrested on suspicion of murder. I mean, I guess maybe this is like before they had manslaughter or something like that. Some kind of like accidental, unintentional death. I was responsible for a man's death. That is the immutable truth here. And for that, I wish to be punished at once. But murder? Never in a million years. It was an accident. Simply an accident. I see. Hurley and I were talking this morning, you know. He said the situation would change completely depending on whether it was treated as an accident or murder. How exactly? Well, if it really was an accident, then the professor's machine would be kept in protective custody. On what grounds? Ah, yes, it's newly established here in Britain. The Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. That one passed me by. But if the case is treated as murder, then they'll say my machine was the murder weapon, and they'll be able to prove it or pore over it as much as they like. If they examine it in detail, they'll find out how it's made, and then they'll be able to copy my idea. My precious hypothesis will be stolen. The machine must be protected from that at all costs. That's why it's imperative this whole incident is shown to have been an accident in tomorrow's trial. Oh, I see now. So, in short, there was a terrible accident at the Great Exhibition Showground yesterday. Yes, or rather, no, the devil's in the details. Strictly speaking, there was a terrible explosion. Sounds the same to me. You were demonstrating super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, weren't you? How fascinating. Humans, like all matter, are made up of particles that are held together by electrical bonds. So it must be possible, using a sufficiently high voltage, to break those bonds and beam the particles through space. That's it in a nutshell. That's my idea. You see, that's my amazing hypothesis. Gosh, that's unimaginably high level science. Oh, but dare to imagine it, dare to dream of such incredible technology. Just think, one moment I could be here in this cell, and the next I could be at the Great Exhibition again. Well, yes, that would be incredible. And the next, in the mere blink of an eye, I could be at a great Parisian theater, say. The possibilities are endless. The world of our vast planet would be within reach. So no more hiding in wardrobes on rocky seas for 50 days? I don't really see it like that. What do you mean, Iris? Well, if you could travel anywhere in the world instantly, the planet wouldn't really seem vast anymore, would it? I think it would feel more like it had shrunk. My word, that's exactly right. what are the implications? What does this mean? Oops, that's got Professor Bunnybrain really worried by the look of it. Clearly, this is yet another case of just because you can doesn't mean you should, I suppose. The point is, my calculations are flawless. The science works, but without a practical demonstration, it means nothing. And that's always the fly in the ointment. Because practical demonstrations cost a lot of money that young scientists like you don't have. That's exactly it, yes. Hurley's always complaining about it. He says the government should invest more in science. Well, anyway, I bumped into him at the right time. I met the well-known investor, Mr. Osman. The victim who died in yesterday's accident, you mean? I understand Lord Van Zeiss is a friend of yours from your university days? Yes, that's right. He was studying law whilst I was studying science. What was he like back then? A good question. Unassuming, gentlemanly, and all around nice fellow, really. Sorry, I think you misheard me. I'm talking about the cold-hearted, merciless prosecutor, Barak Van Zeiss. What was he like when he was at university? Talk about a leading question. As I said, an unassuming and extremely pleasant gentleman. After all, he is the little darling of the Van Zeiss family, with all its great aristocratic origins. I didn't realize he had quite such noble blood. Little darling. It was a bit of a shock when I came back to Britain and learned what he'd become. The Reaper of the Bailey, no less. Yeah, that's right. I did hear, though, that there was a very big event in his life that completely changed him after graduation. Really? What sort of event? I'm sorry, but I don't know anymore. I wasn't in the country at that time. I was in Germany already. Oh, yes, of course. If he's heard all about the Reaper, I really don't have the heart to tell him that Lord Van Zeiss will be the prosecutor in court tomorrow. The full name of the man who died in yesterday's incident was Mr. Odie Osman, wasn't it? What exactly was your relationship with the man? He first visited me in my laboratory in Germany a year ago now. He said he wanted to invest in my immaculate hypothesis. I thanked my lucky stars. I see. So you hadn't really known each other until then. Money for scientific research. I'm so envious. As far as I was concerned, the man was an angel. Oh, really? An archangel, even. He was prepared to fund a practical demonstration of my hypothesis for presentation at the Great Exhibition. And if that went well, I could expect additional financial support for my research from the British government. Mr. Osman provided me with money and an exceptional engineer. He produced a machine to my precise specifications. But then your dreams were blown to dust in one enormous explosion. As you can see, I owed everything to Mr. Osman. I would never, ever have the thought of taking the man's life. Well, seems genuine enough. I don't think he's lying. So, Professor, let me just make absolutely sure I've understood you properly. The huge explosion that occurred yesterday, that was an accident, you're saying. You had no intent to harm the victim, who was in fact the sole investor in your work. Is that correct? As correct as 2 squared is 4. I swear it. Yes, it's true that the man perished in a machine of my invention, so I know that I'm far from blameless in all this, but still, I would never use my discoveries, my inventions, to take a person's life, not in a centillion years. I'm a man of science. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Do you believe me? Do you believe in my hypothesis? Science is the pursuit of truth, you know. I've always believed that all of my life. I'm afraid I don't know much about science or your theories, but I do believe you, and I will fight to prove your innocence with all my might. I'm a man of the law. It's all I know. You have to believe me, please. Who's believing who in this situation now? We gotta believe in each other. When I went to live in Germany after I graduated, I learned something very important. Nationality, class, lineage, none of that matters. As long as you try your hardest, you can achieve anything. Thank you for that, Professor. And thank you in advance for defending me tomorrow in court. All right, Bruno. It's time. Time to visit the Great Exhibition. Sorry? Well, that's where the incident happened, isn't it? Yep, I suppose that's true. Time to investigate at last. Don't we need some written documentation to be like, yep, we're his lawyers?